Willie B, what's up?
What's up, man?
How are you?
Dude, honored to be here, man.
Are you kidding me, dude? I'm honored. It's wild to have you here. The first thing is, like, you reached out to me, or you said something about Kathy J, because Kathy J and Larry were
Yeah,
on.
man. Love that crew.
Yeah.
It's funny, being in radio, it's a short, normally short-lived career, but you're real tight with everybody at every station, and it's been one of those things. They've been around forever. They're great at what they do. Love them and used to appreciate what they brought to the table. Always great competitors in this radio world. And
That's what it was.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And, Kathy J and I did this supermarket thing way back, and we had to guess how many items equated to like $100 or something. It was for TV.
Like a supermarket sweep type thing? Okay.
It was for like a Fox TV morning show or something. And so we running around, eliminated all these other radio DJs, and it was me and Kathy J. And we had an elimination round. And because we were so close and what our money was, King Clark, who was hosting it, had a trivia question. And it was, what was the first thing scanned with a PC, the
UPC
code? Yeah. And it was Wrigley's gum. And I knew that. And I said, Wrigley's gum. And she's like, how'd you know that? How'd you know that? You had to cheat. I was like, nah. I do a fancy fun fact every day, and that's one of them.
And you remember that? You remember
Yeah, just remember
cool.
that.
Yeah.
And that's how I met Kathy J a long time ago. I love them. They're great. They're great at what they do.
Well,
They're
it's
awesome.
wild because it's like I grew up mostly. I listened to KBPI and Green Day and all that stuff back in the day, way before I worked with them. So it was weird because I still listen to hip hop and I grew up around that, but KBPI was my jam. But I worked with them, so I would never get to hear your show until I left or before I started with them. And then it was like, oh man, like you've been around for a minute,
dude. I've been here. It's tough for me to wrap my head around, man. Because I always tell people I'm like, 35 or 20 years experience. But I've been in Denver radio for 33 years, bro.
Wow.
Yeah.
At the same station the whole time?
Same station the whole time. It's gone through several, dial position changes, but I've been there as a component since day one in Denver, which is fascinating to wrap my head around because it normally just doesn't happen that way.
Oh no, you're here. Like even in that movie Private Parts with Howard Stern, it was like traveling. You throw up your
and
car.
That's what I was on that trajectory, kind of bouncing between city and city, trying to get out to LA or New York and maybe take my career somewhere. And then I just fell in love with Denver, man. I fell in love with Denver before I signed my contract here, man.
Yeah.
I was fascinated by a place that I could drive up to the mountains. That's what happened. I was here auditioning. I drove up the mountains. I had a rental car. I just took up a Highway 85, bro. Turkey Creek Canyon, here I come. And it started snowing. The flakes were that big. And I'm like, what the? And I was living in Florida at the time. I wanted to get out of Florida so fast because I hated it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, this place is amazing.
Come back down, there's no snow anywhere.
No snow. Yeah. People looking at you like, oh, you must be up in the mountains. So, yeah, man, I was like, that's it. I'm moving to that crazy, chaotic place that had a great vibe. But
did you always know you were going to do radio? Like, was that your, like, where'd you grow up?
So get this. I grew up in a little town called Winchester, Kentucky. I grew up so my dad was an engineer. We also had a family tobacco and dairy farm. So I grew up doing a lot of dairy farm stuff and tobacco.
Milking the cows and stuff?
Yeah, we had milkers and they'd bring them in, put the little gate on them. They'd eat, alfalfa and hay, and you put the other machine on them, did milk it, go down to a line to a big vat, and it would, stir it, and the milk truck would come up, and it was 5,000, 7,000 gallons of milk we'd pull every day, a couple times a day. Yeah. So we had a lot of cattle, and it was hard work, man.
That's real deal. That's real deal. Yeah.
Yeah, man. My dad was, my dad's super smart. He had he's got a genius plaque in his little library, and he had this kind of route planned out for me where I was going to do a lot of things that he was doing. A lot of engineering work. Yeah. So that didn't necessarily bind well with his plan, but I was young and I caught the radio bug.
Yeah, but how'd you get the radio bug?
You want to hear the story? Yeah. I'm in the 5th grade. Back then, our version of downloading was you hit play and record
at the same time.
At the same time, right? He's like, bam, I got my song. Hope the DJ didn't talk over it. So I know it's embarrassing to say now, but Weird Al Yankovic had a song called Another One Rides the Bus. And I was in 5th grade, and I thought it was hysterical. I thought that song, it just cracked me up. So I wanted to hear it, and I called my local radio station, and I said, hey, man, can you play that song? He's like, yeah, man, I'll get it on later.
Yeah, because they want to call it's going to be entertaining. They don't really care about song requests. Yeah.
And I said, all right. So I waited 30, 40 minutes. Didn't hear my song. Called her back in. Hey, man, can I hear Weird Al Yankovic, another one rides the bus? He's like, yeah, I'll play it later. And I was like, all right. So I called back again like 45 minutes later because I still hadn't heard it. By this time, it's probably past my bedtime. And I was like, man, I want to hear that song, man. Play that song. Because prior to want to be a radio DJ, I told my mom I was going to be an archaeologist. So here I go, called him up for like fourth, fifth time. And he goes, dude, I'm not even going to play that song. Stop bothering me. He's like, if you want to hear your music, you get your own radio show. And I was like, all right. I don't have to do math. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to do that. So I go up eating cereal the next morning. My mom comes in. She's a teacher. And I said, Mom, I know what I'm going to do in life. And this is 5th grade. And she's like, what? You're not going to be an archaeologist? I said, nope. I'm going to be a DJ. And she's like, what? And I said, yeah, DJ. I remember Miss Fugit in 7th grade going through the card catalog and saying, look under the subject that you think you want to do in life and find a book about it. And I was looking under D for DJ. And I said, Miss Fugit, where's the books on becoming a radio DJ? And she's like, no, a real job. So yeah.
Fast forward 35 years, 33 years.
She was one of the first people I had on the air.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. Yeah. What did she say?
She just laughed, so she couldn't believe it.
Wow. So he never played the song. And that's so wild because that's your audience. Like, I always found it was weird because you would see DJs that just dismiss phone calls and things like that, but it's like those are your people. Like you gotta, that's your best friend that's calling you up, even if you don't know them. You want to be cool with them. The
listeners, and I say this with 100% heart, man. The listeners have been what's made my career as long as it is. The longevity I have here is my relation. Most of my listeners are my friends, and they really are. And I think they feel that. This is no joke. Here's a good story to prove it. It's probably late 90s, early 2000s. I get a call from a listener. Still remember his name to this day. His name was Rob. I won't say his last name. But he says, hey, man, my 14 or 15-year-old daughter who worships you, she used to always call in. She's at a drug house in North Colorado. She would not come. She wouldn't come up, leave the house for him. He'd gone there a couple times trying to get her. She wouldn't come out of the house for any of her friends. Nothing. He's like, Willie, you got to go get her. And I was like, what? He's like, dude, you got to go get her. He's like, I know you're not afraid of it. I know you'll be the one that can get her out.
You didn't know him at all? You didn't know him at all?
Only that he had called. And he was a listener that would show up on occasion at some appearances I did. Yeah. But his daughter would call often to the station. And so I was like, okay. And I had a choice. I was like, all right. He didn't have anybody. The girl's in a bad spot. Yeah. So I go, I get this address. Back then, he didn't have a phone to look up addresses. So
print out MapQuest.
Yeah, I printed out MapQuest. This house. And I forget, I'm knocking on the door, man. Nobody came, and you could hear a lot of people. And so I go around to the side door, and I'm knocking on that to where the garage is. And a dude opens the door. There's a few other guys in the back. And I said, hey, I'm here to pick up. I don't know if I should say her name. I said, her name is, it starts with an A. Yeah. I'm here to pick up A. Yeah. And I don't want any trouble with this, man. Her dad sent me here, so know who I am. Let's try not to make this a hassle, bro, and let's just make this happen, right? You go get A, and I could either be right here, I could come in, and we'll see where things go, but I'm leaving here with A. And he was like, hold up. He comes back, brought 2 more other guys, said basically the same thing.
What were you thinking in your head at the time? Oh, shit, he's bringing more guys out.
At the time I didn't know, man. I was like, God, I was a little scared, to be honest, a little nervous, but I don't know, it just felt like
the right thing to do.
Yeah, I was just like, you just shut up and get A, and we'll deal with the rest later. So sure enough, man, other 2 guys come down, a little bit back and forth, and then she's in the background. And
do you think they went up to her and they're like, Willie B from KBPI?
Yeah, I think so, man. I think they did.
That's the only way to get her out.
You tell her who I am, and she'll respond, and you let me see her tell me that she don't want to come with me. I don't want your word. I want her word. And she looked at me, and you could tell she was kind of in a rough spot. But she's like, my dad sent you? Rob sent you? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, I'm going to go with him. She left.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think about it now, and I haven't heard from her. She actually called like 6 months ago, but think about that moment, how nervous it was. I look back now and I go, God damn, that was crazy. Because you just don't know how that's going to shape up. She got in my car. I called him. We met her. It was big hugs, big moment. But yeah, it was one of those moments that, I look back at it now and go, that was crazy.
Yeah. How wild, because it's like, it's so selfless of you. You know what I mean? There wasn't a reason that you were doing that other than you were the last resort for that dad. And you were just willing to and just put that out there. And you weren't even a dad at the time that happened. Yeah.
I didn't,
So you didn't even know what
my
that
dad story is so wild too. I wasn't a dad at the time. My whole thing, man, my whole career has been effort. Effort on anything, to me, is where your story gets told and where you make your impact. Effort, I don't care if you're bad at it, good at it, great at it, if you excel at it, if you don't excel at it. Everything that life can throw you, you can absolutely defeat it with effort. Whether it's muscle memory and time or just putting heart and dedication into it, everything gets conquered by effort. Now, you can throw a little bit of effort at hurdles and things in your life because other things require more. But sometimes, I tell people all the time about, my Cars for Christmas program, which most people, I think, know me for nowadays, is so wild because it's just effort. The whole program runs on effort for me and several other people, but it really is just an effort by people trying to make the world a little bit better.
You think it's effort without expectation, though? Because I think if you have unrealistic expectations or you don't know.
I never worry about the expectation as long as I'm putting in the effort, because the expectation, I think, is controlled by the effort, And a lot of times, if I walk away from something and I didn't, all that effort, I never say it was for nothing, because, there's strength and struggle, and we walk away even when you lost. My kid's a perfect example. This weekend, man, he's wrestled his third tournament. Kid just beat him, pinned him like in 10 seconds. Last time they met, man, he fought that kid for 2 rounds. Hard in the second round. He still got pinned, still lost. But his effort was so much better, and he went a round and a half further than he went, 2 weeks ago. Yeah. So effort, I think, is really, it's key to a lot of things in life that people, I think, they get hung up on sometimes the magnitude of what's in front of them. But you just start with a little bit of effort and see where it takes you, man. You'd be surprised how long that goes. Sometimes it's just a phone call. Sometimes it's just asking, and a lot of men don't ask. They don't ask anything, Yeah. So I think you put in a little effort, and if it gets a little traction, well, you keep at it. If it gets a little more traction, you keep at it, but you're going somewhere now. And now you could put in a little bit more effort and you get a little more traction. And sometimes you fight that battle and it's all for a no, but you learned how to fight the next one. Or it's a yes and people are stunned.
Did you feel that way even with your show? As radio evolved, you switched dials,
Yeah, man, I've been murdered by dial position changes.
Yeah. Oh, no, without a doubt.
Yeah.
And just as a fan of KBPI myself, it's like, when that happened and that switch happened, I imagine people just called you up like, what?
Well, they were mad at me, man. They were mad at me. And rightfully so, because so much of the station is a lot of my personality, because it's weird in corporate now. Mm. And the radio environment is so uniquely different than what it was, God, years ago. Yeah. I mean, it's wild. On one hand, I'm very, I'm tethered with iHeart, but I do something really unique. I go in every day and I can play my own music. No jock in the iHeart chain has that freedom. None.
Yeah, I don't think people know that. It's like usually you go in, the songs are already programmed.
It's all laid out.
Yeah, it's
right?
already laid out.
I wipe all of that off the table and I play what I think the listeners want to hear. And normal programming resumes at 10, but for those hours that I'm on, and hopefully longer than that soon, it's all the music I want to hear that I think you guys want to hear. You guys want to hear.
Yeah.
Or whoever's stuck out there in traffic on I-25 or I-70 or, northern Colorado, as it were now. But yeah, man, it's wild. Most people have this scripted trail of music that has day part rotations
over it. Yeah, that's so cool that you get full control over that. And then when it comes to it, I don't want to say it's effortless because you just said you put effort into it. So like when you go in there every day now, how do you approach the show? What's your strategy there? Or is it just kind of like you're able to do it because you just done it for so long?
It's wild. My show is so governed by listeners or lifestyle. It's funny because for me, having 2 kids, back to back, has been almost a rejuvenation for me on the show because I get to talk and experience that I never had before. I waited to show up a little bit later to the kid game. But man, I got so many fun stories and so many.
It's relatable to so many people.
Yeah, because there's so many dads going through the same thing that I am right now. And my goal, I'm sure like a lot of dads out there. I mean, my dad always butted heads and had turmoil. My dad, and I still to this day, I talked to him last week and he got mad at me for calling him buddy as opposed to dad. It's crazy. But I want to be better for my kid than my dad was for me, and I just want to be there for him in ways. My dad probably couldn't or wasn't, and
it's a different era, I feel like.
Yeah, 100%.
Because before, there was kind of that era of like the dad worked, grinded it out, and left you to kind of fend for yourself in a sense. And now it's like, I've seen that to where our generation is just actively involved. Like, I love picking up my little dude from school.
That's
like
the
taking
best,
taekwondo. Man. Yeah, and it's like, it's funny because I'll watch parents, and whatever, it's fine. I understand the cell phones are there, but I will watch parents in taekwondo that are just like looking down at their phone, and I'm like, they're sparring. I'm like, all right, this is what you need to do. Stand up straight, keep your guard. Like, I'm like yelling at them, and they're like,
look, cell phones are like pacifiers for adults, and they're even worse for kids, man. Mm-hmm. They're we don't do a lot of phone time at all with my kids. And that's why I created my whole. I picked like this great little spot, 24 or 5 miles away from the tech center. It's 6 acres of heaven. I got a little motocross track and made a little golf course. I got a pond with fish in it, and me and a bunch of cars and car friends, always have something going on out there. I got a big shop, so I'm trying to build an area where my kids can have fun at and just be a kid and play with toys and RC cars and fish on a pond and shoot off rockets and do things.
What we did. You know what I mean?
Man. Yeah.
Versus just being like stuck in a room.
Right. That screen time is a killer.
It really is.
Crushes their creativity. So my kid's got a real vivid imagination, and my daughter's my little princess. So, I couldn't be more blessed in that regard. And great wife, and I'm lucky. I've been blessed a million times over. I prayed for what I have now.
Yeah, man.
So I'm super fortunate.
Well, it's funny because even like when Stranger Things just came out, people were like asking questions. The young generation, like, were you really just left to go out until the sun went down and the street light came on? Like they were like shocked by it. It was like, that was the life, man. Are you kidding me?
And it was insane. Like, I will tell you, my radio career, honest to God, it couldn't have happened at a better and more wild time. There's memories that if I tried to do that today, if anybody tried to do it today, they'd be arrested. They'd just be canceled in a heartbeat. But there were things that we did in the 90s when there were no cell phones, but you still had some technology. There was no camera on a cell phone, but you still had some technology. And it's wild because radio, for everybody that stuck and listened to radio in the 90s and early 2000s, it was a moment there for about 10 to 20 years where you want to talk about influencers. The OG influencers were radio personalities. Yeah. And this city had great ones across the board. It had powerhouses that are still on the air today,
Which is wild considering how big Denver was at that time.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's just fascinating to think about the career that a lot of radio people still have to this day in this market, and just where Denver was able to take them, and radio as that original influencer. So here's something unique I did as a night jock.
So so you came here into Denver, and then you drove over to the mountains. It snowed.
Yeah, it snowed. I fell in love with
it. And then they made you a night jock.
Yeah, I could have gone to Phoenix. I canceled my trip out to Phoenix. I said, you know what? Denver was the first place I felt like home at since I was, a teenager. I moved out of my home in Kentucky when I was like 19, or college in Kentucky to do radio. Worked in radio in Charlotte, then in Florida. Hated Florida, but the only thing cool in Florida I like to do was skydive. Shout out to DeLand. But I hated Florida because it's too humid. I just want to get out. It didn't fit me. So I fell in love with the city here, came out to be a night jock. At the time, it was 106.7 KAZY. A couple years after that, KZY and KBPI merged.
Was it rock at KAZY?
KZY was rock.
Okay.
And I was the first live DJ on there. So they just turned the switch on this powerhouse album-oriented rock station that they made active rock. And that meant Megadeth, Metallica, and Anthrax, and just, as hard as we could bring it. So I was the first jock. And at the time, this is what's crazy. I listened to rock as a kid, but I had never worked at a rock station. The stations I'd worked at before were urban or top 40.
Okay.
So
that was dominated, right? Like that was at that time.
Yeah. So at the time, I would show up at appearances at radio station I worked for, like in Charlotte, and I had long blonde hair. And I'd be the only white dude in the place, And they'd be like, "Damn, he's white," which is always funny. And I showed up here doing rock, and I grew up on rock, loved it, but I hated tired rock. My hometown, the rock station, played Grateful Dead, played that tired rock. So I wasn't about that. But when he got here and they said, "You're the first live jock, we're going full throttle, full contact," and I was like, game on. So we got to do the wildest, craziest stuff, and it caught. When we merged with KBPI.
But you were the only jock there?
Only jock, only live jock. And then after me, I was first up nights, cultivated kind of a night crowd in a month, 2 months I was on. They brought on a morning show, and then finally a midday person, afternoon person. KBPI at the time had a, pretty significant morning show, Dean and Raj. And at the time when they merged, most of the personalities that people remember, Dean and Raj, Steve Cooper, an afternoon guy, Uncle Nasty, they came over from KBPI, even though KAZY, at the time it was Clear Channel, purchased the infractional rights into call letters. So all that staff comes over. I was the only guy they kept from the original crew. So, and I'm doing nights still. So I'm doing nights, but I'm killing it. Like the reason they kept me is because at one point in the mid to late 90s, I was pulling, this is weird numbers things, but I was pulling like 26 and 29 12 plus scores in rankings and ratings.
That's like the highest you could get.
Yeah, it's like
out of this world.
Yeah, it's for a radio station night show. Yeah. It means that like anybody under the age of 34, if you take 10 people, 6 of them are listening to me. Wow. 7 of them are listening to me. It's insane. So I took legal pads, and everybody that called up and said they would listen to me, I gave them a listener number. And I had milk crates of legal pads that had legal pad 1, number 2 on it. So people call up and they'd be like, "My name is Dave, Dave Johnson." And so I'd be like, "Dave Johnson, what's your phone number?" He'd give me his phone number, right? And I'd say, "Okay, your listener number, 3,512. All right, that's your number." So if he ever called me, I would go to his legal pad and I'd be like, "Dave, at this address, is your number still this? What's up, man?" And they would always test me.
You're bonding,
right?
Man.
Yeah. So all these people were wanting listenership numbers.
Wow.
I had milk crates of legal pads.
Yeah, but you validated them as it wasn't just they were listeners; they were crews with you.
And I activated them.
Yeah.
I was always under the belief in radio, if you share experiences versus call number 10, you get something, right? If you share experiences, you'll win the longevity game. In radio, like a lot of careers, longevity is difficult. It's a difficult task to surpass. So longevity and giving experiences has always been important for me because I love what I do. I love the people I interact with. I love every day. I still get happy to go to work. I'm like, yeah. I get to go to work, man. I'm fired up about it. So to me, that's...
Which is rough after X number of years waking up at 5 a.m., 4 a.m.,
right?
whatever you get up at.
Yeah, that's still get happy about it. I woke up this morning before my alarm clock went off. I was like, all right, let's go.
Well, that's why when you came in here, I was like, don't worry, you'll be done by 11:30, 12. I was like, because I'm sure
it's funny because I don't take naps, and I normally go to bed at like 9:30 or 10. We'll come back to this one, but ever since I did a world's longest on-air broadcast in 98 or 9. I was up for 24 days, nonstop.
Why do I remember that? It had to be a big deal nationally. Right?
Yeah, it was. It was huge.
Yeah.
And I broke a Guinness World Record. It was pretty cool. I was hallucinating. It was weird.
You stayed up on air the whole time?
The whole time I was broadcast for 24 days. 26 days. Yeah, it was nuts. And at the end of that, I couldn't complete a sentence. It was tough to complete a sentence. And, Kid Rock brought me out on his stage and saluted me for breaking the Guinness World Record. And I got in the pit for like 2-3 songs and was all pumped up on adrenaline. It was like, I think I'm going to pass out. I don't feel good. So I'm going to go home. So luckily I was really close to the man at the time, Fillmore Event Center. And I went home and passed out for like a day and a half. And it got up that next Sunday.
You went and you got the Guinness World Records and won the mosh pit all without sleeping?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I slept it all next Saturday, rested up, and then Sunday I raced the motocross in Colorado Springs.
Dang.
Yeah.
It's funny because I put on my Facebook page, hey, I'm Willie B's coming in here. I was like, anyone have any questions? To your point of like people seeing you as friends and family, that was most of the comments. So I love that guy. He's actively involved in the community. And then someone said, we're friends. I bought his mom's car from him. Someone said that.
Oh, yeah.
And then someone said, ask him about the hole in your floor or your mom's floor. Do you know what that is?
Yeah. So it's funny. I share my life with my listeners and much like my kids, my listeners have watched me grow up to a certain degree. Yeah. That bit, where I was talking about, at night when I had such a raging night share, when I said I'd activate listeners, I would call listeners up and I would say, yo, Dave, this is Willie B. Your listenership number is 5,319. Yo, you ready for a secret ninja mission? And so I would send them to go do things. And a lot of times it would be crazy things. I'd be like, let's go to face a competitor's billboard. And we would write, WB on it, or we would go like what is considered a flash mob now. We would go and take our golf cart and run it through a mall, or I had my intern ride a motorcycle through a mall one time.
Whoa!
Just wild stuff like that. You ready? Everybody get the entrance? Ready? Go! Like that. We would just do this secret ninja mission all on the air, and it was hysterical. And that grew into me throwing. I used to do a thing called FSU Fridays. So it stood for Fridays. And I used to throw stuff off the DCPA, the Denver parking garage. It's 8 stories. Our building was on that corner, 13A Lawrence Street. It got so big that 1,000 people would show up, and they would just watch me throw washing machines, hot water heaters. It all started because my boss had a bowling ball, and I wasn't a big fan of my boss. And so I was joking on the air how I was going to go throw it off the parking garage, and it was going to shatter.
It wasn't a bowling ball like hey, go take this and throw it. You just didn't like your boss.
I didn't like my boss.
I'm going to take his bowling ball.
Yeah, so I was going to take his bowling ball and huck it out the parking garage next door and watch it shatter, sweep the pieces up, and put it back in his bowling bag and be like, damn, my ball must have broke, whatever. So people started calling up, and they said, dude, that ball will bounce. It'll bounce like a Super Ball. And I said, bullshit, it won't bounce. And they said, yeah, man, so I started taking calls. And so after
what do you think is going to happen to the ball type of thing? Right?
Yeah, what do you think is going to happen? So people started calling. So imagine, what a DCPA is, right there on Arapahoe, at least the one that faced where we were throwing it off at. So it's right there where Arapahoe meets Spear. My intern takes the ball over, and I'm looking out my studio. I can see the corner.
Does your boss know that you took his ball?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I'm talking about it on the air, but I don't know if he's listening or not. So,
his office was open.
And yeah, his ball is right there. So I'm like, I'm gonna mess his ball up. He's a big bowler. So I go ready. We threw it off live on the air. 3, 2, 1. Throws the ball off. What happens?
It bounced.
okay, the first bounce I contended for, kinda. I thought it was going to shatter. The thing bounced. Remember I said it was a Arapahoe Road and Spear. What's there? A massive intersection. So he goes, whew, and Bob goes, shoo, whoop-yaw. And I'm like, holy, it bounced.
Wait, hold on. Are you in the studio?
I'm in the studio watching it live on the air. And I'm like, holy, it bounced. And I'm like, not only did it bounce, it bounced 6 effing stories.
You're trying to describe it while at the same time you're freaking out.
Then I'm like, oh God, it bounced. And oh God, it's heading in traffic. It's going to bounce again. So here's a 15-pound bowling ball bouncing down Arapahoe Road at 6 stories per bounce, losing like 2 stories per. And I'm like, oh my God. So I see it bouncing Spear. And I'm looking down my building because that's about all I can see. And I'm like, oh, geez. And it bounces one more on the other Spear, going the other direction.
No cars hitting it.
Yeah, no cars. Cars all around it. And I'm like, bam, like that. And lands over at the Tivoli, the grass with
a giant statue.
Yeah, where the Metro campus sign is. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm breathing. And my intern.
Still on air the whole time?
Yeah, still on air the whole time. And my intern's like, dude, that just bounced through like 4 lanes of traffic. And I'm like, holy moly, we didn't contend for that. And yeah, so the next time, people loved the bit. And I was like, we got to throw something out this parking garage every night. Or every Friday.
Wait, hold on. What happened with the boss, though?
So it took a chip about a quarter size.
Oh, it stayed
off
together.
The ball.
The ball didn't even chip. Oh, wow.
It just chipped it. And I put it back in his bag. And we put it back in his office. And he didn't know that I was the cause of that chip for like 6 years.
Wow, it shows you he never listened to your show.
No. So we started throwing stuff out the parking garage. We threw hot water heaters. We threw, dishwashers, any household appliance. Ended up, I threw a snowmobile out there. We threw a Subaru out top of that parking garage off flatbed wrecker as the last deal. Cops helped me block off Arapahoe Road. We untethered a Subaru.
Did you get it sponsored?
No, I was just doing this rebellious, dude. And it was so crazy. There'd be 1,000 people down there for FSU Fridays, just watching madness. And the cops would be like, "Hey, everybody out the road. Okay, hold up, ready? All right, go." And it was just like that's crazy stuff. But that's why, I had 26 and 30 shares. I was just doing wild stuff that nobody was, thinking about. But I was giving them an experience.
Like you said, now you'd be canceled if you did. Oh,
yeah, man. It probably should have been with several stunts. I look back at. But there was one question you said you asked me that I was going to go to
about the hole in the floor.
So the hole in the floor is I bought a house close to the radio station when it moved into Tech Center, and I bought the house from this guy who was like a hippie, and the people that he had rented the house out to, they were very unique. There was several photos of them I found, like patent leather dresses, and and just
perfect for a radio show.
Just a different lifestyle than what I was accustomed to.
Yeah.
So I meet the guy who had the house brand new. And there was a little, so it's a kind of a bi-level house. So it's got had one level here, another level here. But when you came to the front door, this mid-level had a garage area and a big crawl space that we weren't aware about until you went in the closet underneath the steps.
Okay.
So it had a big hole. I can't say that big. Had a fairly decent sized hole that was cut out of the concrete. And I never could understand why until I met the owner one time. This is after I signed for the house. About a year after, he stopped by. He was seeing another neighbor there. And so he comes over and goes, "Hey, man, I love what you're doing with the house, blah, blah, blah." And I said, "Man, I was curious." So in the crawl space, little walk-in closet downstairs, why is there a big hole in the concrete and there was a drip line from the laundry room running over? And I wasn't putting one to one together at first, but he's like, "Oh, that's where I grew my marijuana."
Oh, yeah.
And so I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, it's where I grew my marijuana." Because it had a dirt floor and he put up lights and he had his little crawl space. So he had this saying. And I was like, "Dude, you squeeze through there to grow marijuana?" And I'm like, "The hole's just this big." And he goes, "Well, if you can't fit through the hole, you don't deserve the weed." So that became like this moniker for like a year on the air. People were calling and they'd be like, "Well, whenever you come up against something and stuff this, well, remember, if you can't fit through the hole, you don't deserve the weed. It's like just became like a thing with me and a big group of listeners. But that was the reason for the hole in the Crawlspace, because this dude was growing his weed in it.
So what happened? When did you go? Did you go middays to mornings, or what happened after nights that they're like, oh, you're killing it? Because they had to. Because nights is always kind of the.
So here was the deal. They had a sports-oriented show on during the morning. And in 2000...
On KBPI?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And it was funny because they play like one or two songs an hour, if that, but they would really talk sports and the likes. So at the time, I was the night jock, and they were using my numbers to average out the station and helping it. So I went to my boss and said, I'll make you a deal. If I do this for a year, because at the time we only got rated 4 times a year. It's still the book. It hadn't gone to the meter yet. This was like 1 or 2 years before the meter. I said, if I do a year for free, and I do both nights and the morning show, if I can get the morning show was like 15th, 16th at the time. I said, if I can get the morning show in the top 5, will you bring me off nights and let me do the mornings? Because at that time I'd ceilinged what I can make, and night jocks.
And mornings is the spot.
Mornings is the spot, right?
Yeah.
So he said, sure, I'll make you that deal. So
back to your effort, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I was willing to put in effort. They let one guy go, and I joined D-Mac and Stout in a new version of the morning show. And so that started in 2000. And right out the gate, man, we had some big hurdles. Right out the gate, we had Mudfest, which is one of the most insane, honest to God, one of the most insane things I've ever been through in my life.
Okay, what was that?
I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about it in court, but I will share it with you anyway. So Mudfest, so when I first went to mornings, I just got into wheeling, and I'd cleaned up, I'd done a bunch of 4-wheel drive promotions with some people where we went and cleaned up Left Hand Canyon, picked up refrigerators and stuff where people would, taking out some anger on a household appliance up there, unloading a clip. That refrigerator ain't moving.
And then we're gonna go throw it off.
Yeah, man. So I'm in the mornings, and I'm also an active wheeler. So I was up wheeling with another buddy, and we were at Left Hand Canyon up past Boulder. And this guy said, hey, man, I'm going over to Netherland. There's a big pit that nobody can get in. Everybody wheels in. And I was like, he's like, you want to come with me? Follow me. And I was like, sure. So I take my rig, and another dude followed us. We go over to where there's like we drive all the way up to Netherland, and there's this, it's a retention pond. Now, it's a retention pond for a mine. So everything that they hit this mine with, all the slurry, so they blast it with water, all the sludge comes out. They'll pump all this sludge and slurry stuff into this like 10-acre, it's excavated about 4 or 5 feet deep. But it just holds all this crap from this dead mine. So there's dudes, when I pull up, there's guys that are stuck in this mud. And this mud is atrocious, bro. It's like,
like sewage.
Yeah, bro, it's nasty. So I'm like, this place is crazy. So I didn't drop my rig in it at the time, but I came back and I talked about it on the air. And I said, you guys want to meet? I'm going to throw I called my rig at the time the defecator. I said, I'm going to throw my defecator in this crazy mud where I found these guys were wheeling up, last week. And I didn't think anything of it. I said, you guys want to join me? I said, I'll meet you at Costco just outside Boulder. So I didn't think too much of it. Well, word got around.
Wow. No social media or anything like that. You're just on air just saying, hey, meet me here. Okay.
And man, my buddy had a wrecker that we put the defecator on because it was a long drive. And as I'm pulling up the service road outside that Costco, the service road off of Highway 36, there were trucks parked all the way up that service road. Like big, huge rigs. The Army came out with Humvees, bro. That's how big the outpouring was. So I pull into Costco, and it's completely full.
What's going in your mind at that point?
At that time, I'm like, holy, I can't believe the people that showed up. And this is A, I thought it was just insane. And B, I didn't know at the time if I should stop it. Like, say, hey, man, this is a little area. So I was like, I don't know. What do you think? And they're like, let's just go check it out. I'm like, well, All right. So 11 miles of trucks takes off.
Wow.
Yeah. And we all, work our way up to this little retention pond. A few guys tried it. It wasn't, we weren't up there a couple hours because, 11 miles of trucks. Going up a gravel road will alarm some people, as it should. And so, look, lesson learned. But it did have a great outcome. Here's the outcome. By the time, 3 hours up there, there's people got their rig stuck in there. The Army has a Humvee stuck in there. The National Forest people show up and go, dude, that's private land. Hey, this is the forest road, stops here. That's private land. And I was like, well, that's great. Not really. So we get everybody out. He takes my info. That's a Saturday. Sunday, I'm watching the Broncos game. And there's this bit in the Broncos game about local DJ, takes all these trucks mudding, Mudfest, whatever. And I'm like,
you mean like the news caught
like the news clip, yeah,
like right before, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, and for a brief moment, I was like, maybe that's about somebody else. Yeah.
Was this before the bowling ball or after the bowling ball?
This is years after the bowling ball, yeah.
Boss though, or is it different?
Yes, same boss. So the guy who owned the land, he wanted to take us to court. So we go to court. It was private land. He wants $42,000 for reclamation.
But did he take you to court, or he took the station?
He took the station to court.
Okay,
he took station to court.
He's not taking you. He's
right, and he wants $42,000 to reclaim the land. So my boss is like, "What do you want me to do? What are you going to do about this?" And I said, "Here's what I'm going to do. Give me six to 8 weeks. Give me 6 to 8 weeks. I'll make a best LCD. I'll sell it, right, and we'll give you the money. I'll turn you over a check. I think it was like $42,500 something. Right? I'm like, I'll give you a check for that money. So get this. And we had to go to court. So there's two courts. There was the civil case and then the real court. And thank God this judge in Boulder, God love him if you're out there, we had to go to court. We had to turn ourselves in. It was all over TV cameras. And the judge has a guy there. And the judge said, well, luckily, in this regard, I'm an active wheeler too. I know for a fact that people wheel in that area all the time, that it's not,
this one-off situation.
Yeah, it wasn't this one-off situation. He's allowed people to wheel there forever. You guys can settle in a civil suit, but the government finds you guilty of assembling more than 75 people without a permit is a $50 fine, right? From the government. Civil.
Did you have to go to court?
Yeah. We went to court. Yeah, we went to court.
Lawyers, the company lawyers.
The judge's like, I've been wheeling in the same place. Yeah. We show pictures. So the CD I made, it was the best of CD. We call it the dumb CD, mud spelled backwards. And here's something I've never told anybody. The photo on that mud CD is an aerial shot of that dude's property a year before with rigs in that pond, in that retention pond. And we call it Dumb CD, D-U-M, and we did a greatest hit CD. We sold that out of the trunks of our cars at mainly me, but sold it out of every bar appearance I could find for 6 weeks. I raised $43,000, like $15 or $18. I raised like $61 more than what it was.
Wow.
Right? And I gave my boss the check after everything was paid.
That's unreal.
Yeah, dude.
And then when you sell the CD, were you telling them what it was for? Or
yeah.
You just like, hey, this is the best of it.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So you had a bad situation happen for you. I want to talk about the Christmas cards for Christmas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I want to talk about that. But your house actually, you had a situation where it caught fire, right?
Yeah, back several years ago, right when COVID was going, in 21, imagine this timing, we had our second baby boy, just 12 months after our first one. Basically, I have Irish twins. And
you have a beautiful family, by the way.
Thank you, man. I'm so blessed. Yeah. God, I love them to death, man. And my wife is just amazing. So we had a house fire right when my baby boy was born. It was an electric fire. It ruined everything. So it took the house down to, I was able to keep some studs on the eastern side of the house, but everything on the western side of the house was tore out.
Home?
I was displaced. I lived in a hotel for a number of months, and then we did an Airbnb for a month or two, and then couldn't afford it. Then I found a rental place. So just over a year.
Were you home when it happened?
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
Wow.
I was home. My wife and my wife's parents because they're Hispanic. Once you have a baby with a Hispanic family, they're moving in. I just showed up one day and they're there. And I loved it. They're great. So yeah, man, we all got out of the house. Everybody was okay. But you talk about wild, man. In a matter of minutes, I watched it. It broke through the firewall and it ran the trusses upstairs. So the upstairs became engulfed with flames. And as the fire department setting up, what was just a garage fire and the fire barrier and the fire door that held it, it went and punctured a hole in the firewall and ran the trusses. And when I opened the garage door, because I was going to jump in one of my cars and try to save them, drive it through the, don't do this, by the way, it's stupid, drive it through the garage door.
Like a movie scene.
Yeah, like a movie scene. I thought for sure I could do it. And I was like, I saw the fire, dude, rip it across the roof of my garage, the ceiling of my garage. And it was massive. It was a wall of fire everywhere. And it was. And it was going right in the upper part of my house. Whoa. And I was like, nope. I just want to get the family out.
Yeah.
So got him out. And
Willie B without a family would have jumped in there and pulled out every car. Yeah. Willie B with the family is like.
Fact. Yeah, but it was an eye-opening experience. But it brought us together for sure.
The community, how'd they react to that? Because my
station started a GoFundMe.
Wow.
Yeah, it's weird because for years I've always given back to the BPI family because I feel like it's, effort, right?
Yeah.
If I can help them, I want to. But in that moment, it was unbelievably grateful to watch the BPI family give back to me. Yeah. And friends that I've known, Ivan with Five Finger, he threw in like $5,000. He was like, I'm gonna get you an Airbnb. He's and if he ever sees this, I love that guy. He's been a lifesaver and a true friend. But you find out really what means everything, and that connection and that just reliance on them and them on me is something special, man. It is something to behold, and I'm thankful for it.
So did you lose all your legal notes with everyone with all the member numbers on it, or do you still have that?
Years ago I still had them, and I think they're in my closet in one of my big bins. I think I still have like 4 or 5 milk crates full of them.
You should just start calling them. Hey,
number 13. They still have the same number. What's wild is I think over the years, most of my listeners I did a program I started in 2002. 2003 called Cars for Christmas. About the same time, I started Hammers and Angels, where we renovate people's homes. And I learned from that mud event, Mudfest, I learned the power you can have, right? And at time, for that moment, I used it for something bad. You'd go back and go, that's probably bad. But then I quickly realized, whoa, man, there is something that resonates there in that experience and sharing something. And if we could aim that towards doing something positive, imagine the strides we'd have. So I created Hammers and Angels. I was doing a food drive, and some construction guys came up, and CQL 2000, give him a little shout out, Brett. He heard a story that I brought into the RV to tell, and a bunch of construction guys said, hey, I'm down to help out. I'm down to help out. And I actually put on Facebook in 2002 or whatever, I was making okay money, morning show money for 2 years. And it gave me a chance to do this. I didn't have anybody at Christmas. I put on Facebook. You can go back and see this to this day. I put, what's something you've always dreamt of doing, but money has kept you from doing it? And I picked 4 people from the comments. One of the comments was, I want to get carpet in my grandmother's house. And so I brought that lady in because I went to her house. She needed a lot more than carpet. And I was like, well, let me see if I could get some people to help. Effort. So I brought her story in. Construction guys, by the grace of God, showed up right when I was telling that story. By the time me and that girl told that story, wasn't a dry ice in the RV. And the reason I was in the RV is because I was doing a food drive at the time for the Denver Rescue Mission. So we started Hammers and Angels that year. A year before that, I had a buddy named Jay, and I gave him my old pickup truck. When I was making night money, I had a little Chevy S10 I bought from an electric company. And I had a hot rod.
Little tiny,
S10, little box S10.
With a weird seat that was in the back.
You had to sit straight up. It was a 4-speed. I paid like $700 at an auction from an electric company. I Mako'd the paint job, and I drove it every day. It had springs coming through the seat. I had bath towels in it. And that's what I drove until I could get enough money to afford a car payment. So it was tight. Radio, you made $25,000 a year.
Yeah, exactly. I think people think that if you're in radio, you're killing it, but it's not.
I was making $35,000 a year. I was dying.
Yeah.
So to the point where I was driving a 20-year-old, 30-year-old truck with
Kathy had
springs.
an S10. Kathy had an S10 too. Kathy J had an S10, and I had a 1993 Toyota pickup, bro. So I think that's the radio gambit.
So we all go through those tiers. I gave it to Jay. He had a kid, and at the time he didn't have a car. And I watched that car drastically change his output with kid time, his output as a dad, his ability to be there. Yeah, dude, totally changed it. I was like, dang, I could do that because I'm good with cars. So I started Cars for Christmas. In 2003, I gave away 3 or 4. The second year I did it, I gave away 3 or 4 cars just because I could afford them. 4th year I did it, I gave away 5 or 6 cars.
But you're saying give away. You're taking them in from
I'm
donating
buying
and
cars.
fixing them up.
Well, I just buy them.
Oh, okay.
At the time, I buy cars that I find on the side of the road. I go to auction, and I'll buy them. I buy cars. I fix them up on my own, and I turn around and I give them to people that need them. So it wasn't till I'd done this for 15, 20 years. It got to the point where I was doing like 15 to 20 cars. Christopher's Dodge was giving me a little bit of a discount, but I was still paying for cars out of my own pocket. Mm-hmm. But I was doing 15, 20 cars, and I was using my TV money. And one year, that's all I used my TV money for, just buying cars and fixing them up. And I was like, dude, I got to stop this because I need some of that money for me.
Man? Yeah, when did you sleep? You're working on cars, you're doing all this?
Well, I saw the impact it was having.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's awesome.
So I ended up getting a 501c3. Started being able to do some fundraising.
So you have your own charity?
Yeah, I have a 501c3 called Willie B Foundation.
Okay.
I have an incredible, I can't stress this, all the things I will tell you, this is probably the most amazing to me. And it's the time that my friends give to fixing these cars, because I know why I do it, and I know that effort has always been this driving thing for me. Just try to give a little effort, and you'll be amazed at where it will take you. But my friends give 6 months. We start in August. We don't finish up till the end of January. I just did my last wave of giveaways last Friday.
When we text,
Yeah. And this year I just gave away 20, it'd be 24, 25 cars by the time it's all said and done. The last several years I've been able to gift more than 30. This year I just had a difficult time fixing cars. There were years before COVID I gave away 70. I gave away 2 years, I gave away 70 and 74. And I wouldn't be able to give away half the cars. I team up now with the Elway group of dealerships, Elway Foundation. So Elway, Chevrolet, and BMW, Fort Collins, up
but
north.
That's all you and your relationships, right? Like the station doesn't
the station has nothing to do with Cars at Christmas.
That's wild.
So they allow me to talk about
it?
Yeah, they allow me to talk about, but they have nothing to do with that because they fought me in years past. They've actually fought me talking about it, said I couldn't. And then I fought them back. So in some years it's been, it's been tough, but now they get it, and there's an expectation with my listeners. They, some people expect that, and I expect that from myself, that effort to give back to the community, to help where you can. And my gift outside radio, cars have always been my jam. Yeah. That's my TV career is all in cars, which is another goofy story how that started. But
is that Willie B's garage? Is that
so? That's back up in 2008. I was most of my time and effort outside Cars for Christmas, or going to my race car and just banding mirror and racing cars. Well, Pink's All Out, which is this massive TV show that I used to always watch, comes through town. Me and my guys would go to Thursday night. We'd watch it at X Saloon and cheer for our favorite dude or whatever. So this guy comes through town. He gives me a couple passes to give away on the air. I build a car with my listeners, steering the direction of it. They said they want a blower car, and they picked the setup and the wrap. I let them vote on it. So I raced. I
always thought that was really cool.
Metal shop?
Yeah. I always thought that was really cool. I tried to pitch that to partners because I'm like,
so fun.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So same theory. Listeners steered the car that I was driving, and the TV show had this big semi that unfolded, and it was a little bit of every show that they had, an experience with every show they had. So the VP of programming for Speed TV at the time, Bob Ecker, he did the Dream Mobile Theater is what it was called. And he's like, he comes down to Bandimere, Sporty Bandimere guy. He says, who is the guy who's got 1,000 people by his tent right by the Speed Mobile Theater? There's nobody at the Speed Mobile Theater. He said he's a local guy who does a lot of car stuff, and he's big into racing. And he said, is he good with the crowd? And Sporty's he's great with the crowd. So Bob, the dude from Speed,
good with the crowd?
He says, can you go get him to do something with the crowd? So Sporty Bandimere comes up and goes, hey, the TV guy from Speed TV asked if you would go do something in front of the crowd, and I'd go do it. And I'd like, okay, that's weird, but sure. So I go out and
Just make an effort, bro.
Yeah. And I go, okay, I'll put a little effort for it. So I go out and, did my thing with the crowd and got everybody riled up. And after that, he comes back. And this is Bob, the guy from Speed TV. He goes, you ever thought about doing television? I go, nah, cuz look at, I'm bald. I got this face.
You don't got that long blonde hair anymore.
Man, yeah. So he says, you ever thought about doing TV? And I said, no. He goes, I'm going to call you in a couple weeks, talk to you about a job on this show. It was my favorite show at the time. It was my favorite TV show.
That's awesome.
Right? And so he calls me in 2 weeks. He goes, you're starting in New Orleans for next season. And you need to call this number and give me your sizes, and I'll see you in New Orleans. So that was like a month away. And I was like, what? So
right, no context, right? So you're just like, what is about to happen?
Yeah, none.
It's all click.
I didn't get a contract. They gave me a ticket. I showed up, and he goes, hey, here's your camera guy. Go do you, and I want to see it. That's all the direction they gave me. Imagine that. You're on your favorite TV show, and the guy that produces it says, just go do you. And so I was like, okay. So I just went in a parking lot, did me. And talked to some drivers, talked to some racers, gave my thoughts on cars, talked to other people that were epically failing.
You just ad-lib with it, or you kind of like constructed
Well, I know cars.
Yeah.
I love cars. I race cars, so I know the subject matter. Mm-hmm. But just add my personality and lens to it was something that was, for them, different
Unique.
To see.
Yeah.
So he said, I'm giving you a spot on the show. So they put me on the show. And I was like, what? Couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it.
Yeah, to get on your favorite show.
On your favorite TV show.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
And it was a big show. In my world, it was huge. So the lead guy on that show, Rich, he became too much of an ego to deal with and contend with after like 4 or 5 years of that show. Bob,
was there a little jealousy, just because you just came in and maybe brought something that he didn't have?
I don't want to say anybody's jealous of me because I'm just an average C student with a microphone.
I wouldn't say jealous, but
yes.
Yeah.
But he was mad at me initially because he's like, that's the only dude that can replace me. Nobody else.
You were a threat. Yeah.
So that's how he described me.
Yeah.
That's his own words, not mine. But
which is wild because it's like you work with someone.
Yeah,
it could have been an even bigger, better success for both of you guys. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But the big guy from Speed says, hey, we're going to kill the show. Rich is too much to deal with. Have you ever heard of this show? And it was a how-to show. And at the time, I'm like, well, that's not really up my alley, but I'll go try out for it. They were doing open tryouts. So I went and tried out for it in like March or April. Didn't hear anything. Didn't think I got it.
Of last year? Or what
this was like, I think 2000. This is 2000. No, this is like 2014 or something when Pinks went away. And he said, I want you to go audition for the show. And they auditioned several people that were better fabricator than I was, better, probably car mechanic, but didn't have something else. So they offered me the job at the end of that summer. So now I've been doing Two Guys Garage, a TV show on Motor Trend. Now they just changed the name Discovery Turbo. I've been doing that now for 10, 11 years.
That's awesome.
So I've always been asked to be on TV. I've never knocked on the door and been like, yo, put me on TV. I've always been asked to go do TV, but it's been a
almost
great
like
side
the effort
hustle.
led you to
exactly to
where you wanted
doors.
to be, but you weren't intentionally trying to get there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It just happened.
That's awesome, dude. You've lived a wild life. What's the wildest story you've ever had about like a show, a concert? Because I think it's easy to go to these concerts all the time and you're rocking the mic at the Fillmore or something like that. But do you hang with these artists and have something where you're just like, that was a wild night?
I mean, yeah, I've got a million of those. I could probably show you from times I've wrestled and spin it Violent J and Shaggy Two Dope's house.
Wait, you wrestled at?
I wrestled in the ICP wrestling.
The federation.
Yeah,
right?
the ICP Wrestling Federation. I've wrestled in that twice, once here and at the first gathering of the Juggalos. It was awesome. Spent nights in Detroit at
How was that?
Jay's house.
I'm a wrestling fan, so I'm just like so
great.
curious
It was amazing.
about that. Yeah.
I went to wrestling school. They give you some cues as to, hey man, you're gonna throw this dude through a table, or you're gonna suplex this
You
guy.
were in a match.
Yeah, I was teeing him up. Yeah,
Whoa,
yeah,
that's wild.
So I was down. I was good. I was like, yes, yeah, just rolling on adrenaline, and yeah, it was so much fun. To crazy nights, where. I mean, I got wild stories, man. I got Pantera, picking me up for at my house to go out on the town. To Five Finger, my man Ivan, he did a midnight show one time. It was New Year's Eve night. I think this was 2020 or 2021. It was right before Vinny passed away. I'm trying to think, what year was that? Anyway. We called at 11:58. We called Vinny on his cell phone. I'm on the air with Ivan. We called Vinny on his cell phone, and he answers at a strip club in Texas. And it's Vinny Paul, Ivan, and me on the air at midnight on New Year's 2021 into 2022, just being goofy, having fun.
Yeah.
To wild concert experiences with bands and. Wild events I've got to do because of radio. I got to travel the world because of radio. Radio used to go to Music Row and you'd have the billboards or something like that. They would send radio stations out to interview artists. Yeah. So I've interviewed, everybody from Ice-T to Don King. I used to have this bit where Don King's like, Willie B, the man. Just doing this. So I've been blessed, man. I've been so blessed. I'll tell you one funny one is kind of gross. I don't want to leave on that, but I gotta give some props to my man Scoop, because how I stumbled upon this guy is just a perfect. Me and Scoop are perfect as a morning show, more so than any partner I've ever had on the radio. So, long story short, the one funny show thing I've had that I couldn't believe a guy did. A guy said he'd do anything for tickets to something. I said, everybody says that, but nobody's willing to do anything. And he says, I'm willing to do anything. I'm like, no, you're not. You won't chop off your pinky for a pair of tickets. And he said, I'll do anything. I'm like, you won't eat a dog sandwich for tickets. He's like, I will. I said, you will not. And he's like, I will. He's like, I will be there and I will eat a dog poop sandwich tomorrow. And I was like, no, you won't. And he's like, I will. I'll prove it to you. So
I love the challenge that you give him now.
Bro.
Yeah.
At the time, I had a Rottweiler. So I went out to my yard and scooped a pile of poo up in a baggie.
Oh, my God, dude.
And I had Wonder Bread. And I put 2 slices of Wonder Bread in a baggie. And, man, he showed up at the station, and I go, no way you're going to do it. Actually, it was at the venue. And I said, no way you're going to do it, because he had a big crowd around. He was like, I'm going to do it. And I was like, no way are you going to do it. I said, there's the ingredients. I'm like, you make your sandwich,
you make
bro.
it yourself. Yeah, I'm not going to make that
I'm not
sandwich
gonna
for you.
I'm like, do it up. Let's see. And he's like, I told you I'll do it. So he puts it right in between the bread, bro, and he goes for it. He does one bite, and he misses it. And I'm like, I was like so nervous, and I'm like, oh my God. And then the second bite caught it. And man, he caught it. And he's like, I told you I'd do it. And I was like, dude, enough, stop. Because he was going to go in for another one. And I was like, no.
Dude, I couldn't.
And I said, dude, I can't believe you did that. I can't believe, here's your tickets. And he said, thanks so much. And he smiled, and he had. I'm like, man, yeah. I'm like, before you go in there, man, you breath minter.
All right, yeah, I don't know how I wouldn't have been able to even watch that.
I couldn't believe it, man.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, damn, I can't believe you did that.
So what's up now with your show? Like, what's happening with KBPI?
So 107.9 is where we're at now, way up on the dial. We went there for a signal boost, but you guys know the story. I sent thousands of emails. Everybody knows the story. It's something that to this day I have fought and fought and fought. The reality is, I'll be honest, I got told something that wasn't true. I got promised that my signal was going to be there. I got promised it would get repaired. I got told something that and I have tried relentlessly for years to get the signal right.
And you got the blame for it a little bit from the listeners.
And I did because I was the face of it, you know. But they made me the face of it because they assured me that the signal, if you drove from Laramie, Wyoming or Cheyenne to
DTC.
To damn near New Mexico, you would hear 107.9, it would be the same thing. And it would be just as strong. And it's not, and it wasn't. And I'm sorry to this day that happened. I wish I could take that back.
Yeah, but I think you still have your diehards.
But moving forward, I am this close from regaining local control of the radio station. Hopefully iHeart sees the justification in that. I think they will. And get a little more local than what we've been able to over the last several years. And I think there's hope. There's big hope and growth there where most stations in this environment don't have growth potential. We do, and it's this close. And, man, hopefully we can announce that at some point in the month.
I love that, man. I think local is so important because I think
it truly is.
You're the music platforms, you're battling against those guys that you have to be different. And unique. But I do agree with you that you were the OG podcaster before podcasting was the thing. You were the OG influencer before social media came around. And you still have longevity here, which I cannot express enough. That it's like, that's not normal to be able to be have that career that you had. And there's a reason for it, man. You're a great talent. You're a great person, and you give back to the community. Man. And I appreciate you coming in here.
It's funny. That's been the coolest blessing out of my whole career is to watch that full circle happen. I was at a gas station last week, and this dude across from me, pumping gas, and he's like, you won't remember me, but I don't know, 15, 18 years ago, I just called up your radio station. I needed an engine. How weird is this? I need an engine for my truck, and I couldn't afford it because I was out of my own. And you said on the air, you brought me on the air, and you said, I got one of those engines at my house. You come to my house, I'll give you the engine for free. Don't even pay me a dime for it. Just come there, get it, and get your truck running. And he did, and he got that truck running, and it lasted him for like 6 years. And no joke, later that day, right, I'm at Walmart, and a guy runs into me and goes, hey, you're not going to remember me, but no joke, you gave my wife a car probably 12 years ago, and it saved her life. It totally allowed her to get her kid, and a special needs kid, get him to and from. I got some crazy stories about cars for Christmas and people it's blessed that will humble anybody. But it was really cool in that same day to run into another guy who had helped out. And again, it really goes back to that effort thing. But I hope that's my story, you know?
Yeah.
There's like this guy that, man, he's, you know, he would always be down to help somebody out or would at least try, put in a little bit of effort, no matter what, you know? And especially with the car world, that's my gift. I think it was Picasso that said, the true challenge of life is to find your gift, and the treasure in life is to give it away, so along those lines. And, if my gift is tinkering on cars or fixing them, being able to give cars or fix listeners' cars that otherwise couldn't afford it, it's something I've done for years with friends and, you know, a shop up north called Truck Lab, but it's been a true blessing to be able to do that. Even, you know, last week I was still changing people's lives. You know, people that not had cars for 4 years. Holy crap, I got a car.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So it's cool, man. You could do that as a little radio DJ.
Well, not a little radio DJ, man. I like how humble you are. It was a great interview. I feel like we could have went on for 4 hours just to get into it. You know, the one thing, we had Vic Lombardi in here and literally just said, hey, man, talk to Colorado, the people of Denver. You've seen so much change. Like, what do you want to tell the people of Colorado? Because I'm from Denver, so it's like, and you might have been a guy working at a dairy farm in another state, but you've seen the city and the state become what
Denver's a treasure. I tell everybody all the time, almost daily on the air, I said, you know, we live in a postcard. Like, we truly do. And there's different feelings and emotions on which direction we should go and who should govern us and all of that stuff, and I'll let that for the battles to be. But here's what I tell you. Regardless of where you're at in life, sometimes hurdles and struggles present themselves, and those challenges are insurmountable. And sometimes you get thrown against what you think is something that you can never win against. Be it sobriety, which a lot of people struggle with, be it, you know, financial hurdles. Rock bottom has built more heroes than privilege ever has. And it really has. I say it over again. Rock bottom has built more heroes than privilege ever has. And there's a lot of strength and struggle, whether it's a kid, an adult. You keep fighting, man. You keep battling, and you'll make it through anything that life throws you. And as far as Denver goes, this was the first place I felt like home because of its people, because of the attitude that people have here, and the fact that, you know, in our own backyard is something that is one of the greatest wonders of the world. If you're in Denver and you don't take advantage of what's just west of us, you're not quite doing Denver right. Yeah, Denver's got amazing stories and crazy history. And, you know, Denver, it could have been Auraria. Do you know the story of Auraria in Denver?
No.
So Denver started, it's just a mining town, right? Everybody came here for the gold rush. Auraria and Denver, right, they couldn't decide where to put the capital. So they put it on stilts in a creek in between the two mining towns, right?
Huh.
So it's on stilts in a creek for years. And then they had this massive flood. It washes the building away, completely washes all the records of all the mines and everything, washes it away. And then guess what happens? The people that were here settling it says, we're going to the highest place possible, which is why it's Capitol Hill versus Auraria. That's the reason they put it on top of the hill, so it wouldn't wash away. So a mile high 5280 is because they didn't want the records to wash away again for the mining camp, for Denver. That's how Denver started. That's why Denver is the capital of Colorado, not Auraria.
Could you imagine Auraria Broncos?
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Dude, that's nuts. Man, you're an icon to me. You're a legend for me. Being in radio myself, and I didn't get to hear you in the mornings when I was doing the mornings, but man, I was a KBPI fan, and I've been a fan of yours for a long time.
I appreciate that, man.
For you to come on this podcast means a lot to me, and just hearing your story and
the success of it.
Yeah.
And I love people from Denver. There's a certain communal thing about being from. There's a ton of Colorado pride, and that's. You know, outside Texas, I don't know that there's another state that we carry as much pride in. And I'm a big believer in that, man. We have a lot to be proud of. It's this town, this city, the energy, the vibe, and our surroundings, unlike any place in this country, man. We are blessed to be here. And blessed to be here, man. Your success, the great people I've seen on this, what a cool moment it is for me. I'm thankful to get the invite, thankful to share some seat time. Man, I wish you nothing but all the success in the world with it. This is great for so many people and so many people out there on the other side. Thank you. Truly mean that.
One right there. Thanks, Willie B.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate
Thank you, bro.
You.